You want to support Roland Marque Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Marque Unfiltered. Support the Roland Marque Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMarqueUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, let's go to this case in Texas we've been covering with the Marque Police Department. They have released body camera footage of the officer who shot Joshua Feast earlier this month. On December 9th, Feast was shot by Officer Jose Santos across the street from his uncle's home. Here is the body camera footage that was released.
Thousand block of Purtle, send me units now. Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
Help me.
41, we're in front of 1010 Purtle. Stage medics. First unit to get here, I need you to recover the gun. He dropped it just outside of Dodge Charger. Stay on the ground, do not move. Put your arms out to the side, Josh. Josh, put your arms out to the side. Hey, stay inside for me, stay inside for me. It's somewhere on the ground. He pulled it out his waistband as he took off running. (4113), you copy traffic? (10-4), just make sure you copy traffic. Hey, keep an eye on that house too. This house? Yeah, the Cyrus's house. 41, see if County and Tech City can send units out here. We got a large crowd starting to gather. Josh, talk to me. On log that 34 had to pick up the gun because we got a large crowd. Rob, please don't start, Rob. I'm gonna talk to you in a little bit, Rob.
I heard you say, I heard the gunshot, then I heard you talk about showing your hand. The gunshots fired first, then you talk about showing your hand. I heard that, man. Mom, then show me your hand.
Y'all back up. Y'all back up.
I heard that whole ass. I heard that. I heard you talk about a nigga. Wow. The first one.
41, I need units here quick. Have to step it up. I don't care where they come from. Y'all back up! Back up! Hey, first unit comes up to get that the guy in the white do-rag. Rob, he's the one instigating everything.
Still breathing, dog.
I can't get... Rob! Hey! Rob! Rob, I can't get medics here till y'all stop. Y'all just wait. Yeah, you go. You see this? I can't get medics over here till we get this figured out. he pulled out a gun. He got a couple felony warrants. He pulled a gun on me. When I get supervisor here, I'm gonna need y'all to determine if we need to bring the medics in or carry him out. All right, let's put him in cuffs. 10-4, have him staged. We got a large crowd right now. Hey, buddy. I can't hear what you're saying. I got a lot of screaming.
Investigators say Feast was a person of interest and possibly connected to the recent shootings in the area. Now, according to Feast's uncle, a 22-year-old was outside talking to the mother of his child. That's when Officer Santos was driving down the street and made a U-turn. Santos pulled up and yelled Feast's name. Feast took off on foot, and then Officer Santos opened fire, striking Feast in the back. Civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who is representing the Feast family, says the body cam confirms that a defenseless man was shot in the back who posed no threat to Santos. Joining me now is Attorney Ben Crump, as well as just pull up here. Give me 1 second. We're waiting for the mother to call. And so again, that footage came from the Houston TV station. We did not get the direct footage. We're still working on that. Ben Crump joins us right now. Ben, there's several different things here. First of all, that video was 5 minutes long. He shot very early in the video. You hear the officer saying, I got to wait to call in medics. Then toward the end there, you hear him say, let's put him in cuffs. He's already shot in the back. They made no effort to provide aid for him for almost 4 minutes.
Yeah, you know, Roland, as Monique Presley and I have discussed, he fails to do his duties as a first responder. You even hear the neighbors who came out the house said, he's still breathing. Do something to help him. And the police tells them, no, you all stay back. And yet he won't do anything to try to help save his life. We believe that, you know, once we get into this case, if there was any chance that medical attention paid to Joshua Feast would have saved his life, that's going to be another charge on top of the unnecessary shooting of a defenseless man in the back as he ran away from him, Roland. And I just have to say this, because I want to give Lakeisha, his mother, time to talk when she comes on. The witness accounts out there on that video clearly say the officer never said stop. He never said freeze. And the only time, Roland Martin, that he said, put your hands up, is after he shot him and he's lying on the ground, bleeding out, dying.
One of the things that is also strange, you hear the officer saying to the crowd, get back, get back, get back, send units in as possible. And again, what is strange to me is that you shoot someone, you offer no aid, then your whole deal is get the crowd under control. There's a body laying right there. And then put the cuffs on him?
Yeah.
And based upon the autopsy y'all had conducted, showed that pretty much he was dead there on the ground.
Yeah, and then they put the handcuffs on him, Roland. And, you know, it begs the question, Roland Martin, because you and I talk often. I know Mustafa was on earlier, and we were talking about how much he enjoys our conversations and fighting for our people. Think about this, just opposed to Kyle Rittenhouse, the young white man in Kenosha, Wisconsin, who shot 3 people, killing 2 of them, and had an assault weapon around his neck walking towards the police. And they did not see him as a threat. Nobody attempted to arrest him. Nobody shot him in the back. Nobody killed him. But yet, a black man running away from you who you claim has dropped the weapon based on your own testimony. Why shoot? Why treat him less than a human being when you handcuff him while he's obviously unconscious? But that's how they do our people. And it reminds me of the scene with Michael Brown and Ferguson, where the black people started gathering around. And it reminds me of George Floyd, where all the people started gathering around saying, look at the lack of humanity that they extend to our children.
That's precisely it there when you talk about that lack of humanity. You and Joshua Feast's mother first got to see this video, correct? When was that? When did the city show y'all the video before it was released to the public?
They showed it to us, Roland, on Thursday afternoon. And, his mother has been such a pillar of ability for her family. He's been dignified and faithful, trying to be there for his 3-year-old son and his 5-year-old daughter, Joshua Jr. and Aaliyah. But it was when she saw that video and saw her son lying on the ground, not blurred out, because when you go to your social media and my social media, we want people to see actually him lying on that ground as his mother saw him, saying, I'm hurt, help me, I need help. And that's when she just lost it, because she's like, and he won't help my son. He shot him in the back, and now he's just going to let him die. And that's her firstborn son, Roland. So this is why we have to bring attention to this matter, because this is the 95th person killed since George Floyd was tortured to death in Minneapolis on May 25th, 2020. The 95th black person killed. Let me be clear about that.
We are waiting to speak to the mother of Joshua Feast. They'll let me know very soon when she is on the line. Ben, we think about this case, we think about Michael Slater, we think about so many different cases where these officers firing weapons at someone who's running away. And it begs to ask the question again, why are you firing at someone who's running away, who didn't assault you, didn't fire at you, but it's sort of like, oh, I see weapon, I'm about to fire at you. I mean, and again, because here's the deal. The officers say, oh, he had a couple of felony warrants. You know who he is. You know who he is.
Yeah. Roland, it's one of the most cowardly things you can do, to fire at a defenseless man running away from you. But it's almost like a cliche, the police shooting black men in the back. When you think of Stephon Clark in Sacramento, California, in his grandmother's backyard, when you think of Laquan McDonald in Chicago running away and all 14 of those police officers lied, and questions about Rahm Emanuel, what he knew. When you think about Terrence Crutcher in Tulsa, Oklahoma, walking away with his hands up slowly, hands up, don't shoot on video, and the white policewoman, Betty Crutcher, shot him in the back. And then you think about Jacob Blake Jr. in Kenosha, running away from him. The guy grabs his shirt, shoots him 7 times, point blank range. And as Monique and I were talking about it, and then we look at Joshua Feast, and as Monique broke down to me so eloquently, she's one of your panelists. Monique Presley is brilliant, and I know this is your hometown, so it's really personal to you and her. But it is this whole notion of them lying about it or attempting to lie about it. The sheriff said his investigators said that Joshua Feast pointed the gun at him and was coming towards him. And now they had to walk that back. And now they're just trying to say, oh, well, he pulled a gun on me. But I believe once the witness accounts are documented, they're going to have to walk that back, because there were a lot of witnesses out there. And they say Joshua Feast never, ever pointed any weapon at this police officer. He did what most black people do when the police confront them. You try to get away from the police.
But that's it. But it's the lying. It's the lying. This to me sounds just like Laquan McDonald, when they lied. The cop said, oh, Laquan McDonald was charging at the cop. And then the videotape that Rahm Emanuel tried to suppress until it was released showed exactly what happened. He was not coming forward. It was a flat out lie. And this is what I also keep saying. When these cops lie in these statements, that should be automatic termination.
Exactly, Roland. And I don't even understand how this particular officer, Officer Jose Santos, even has a job now. Because when you look at what he did in 2013 to an unarmed black man, Reginald Davis, how they kicked him and stomped him and hit him and put his head underwater in Galveston, Texas, when he was with the Galveston Police Department, it begs the question. But it leads us to a larger conversation, Roland Martin, and you're the perfect person to have this conversation with your political acumen. The fact that Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden are talking about the need to have this national police registry of misconduct, so they can't brutalize our people at one department and then be allowed to resign and then go to the next county and get another job at another police department, and then the brutality escalates to murder. We saw that with Tamir Rice, 12 years old in Cleveland, when that officer had been forced to resign, and then 6 months later, the Cleveland Police Department hires him, and then less than 2 weeks, he shoots that 12-year-old baby on the playground by himself in less than 1.7 seconds when he pulls up. Well, Officer Santos, it continued his propensity to use excessive force against black people led to Joshua Feast's death. And Joshua Feast should be here this Christmas with his 3-year-old son, Joshua Jr., and his 5-year-old daughter, Alea. But yet, because this officer was allowed to keep his badge and gun after his conduct had been condoned, and it was heinous how they beat that brother up in 2013. But yet we see what happens when you don't condemn that behavior. It leads to our children being killed.
Looks like we're having some difficulty reaching Lakeisha Feast. So hopefully we'll be able to get her on the show tomorrow. Ben, we certainly appreciate you joining us, sharing this information with us. It's a story that we certainly are going to continue to cover. And again, and to your point, George Floyd was murdered Memorial Day in May of 2020. And we continue to see these actions take place by police departments, which shows you why you need the George Floyd Justice Act on the federal level, which shows you why you need to deal with qualified immunity, which shows you why you need to have counties and cities also changing policies. This battle, people can get mad with the slogan of defund the police, but as you said, 95 people, 95 families, 95 African Americans have, since George Floyd's death. Repeat that again, Ben, for people. I want that to sink in, especially for the people who talk about defund the police. What you said, the number 95.
Since May 25th, 2020, practically June, within a 6-month time span, 95 African Americans have been killed by the police during a pandemic, Roland Martin, during the time we all supposed to be shut down. Everything seems to have shut down in America except racism and discrimination as it relates to black people having confrontations with police. And that's what the issue is. And that's why we have to have the Biden administration address this matter in their first 100 days. We cannot wait on this because look how many children we lost in just these last 150 days.
Absolutely sad. Ben Crump, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Roland.
Mustafa, to the point Ben made, again, people, all this brouhaha over the phrase defund the police, 95. black people dead at the hands of cops since George Floyd was murdered less than 6 months ago.
Yeah, many of these are executions. I don't think there's any other way to say it, but then just to call out that they are executions. They are continuing to happen in our sacrifice zones and in these killing fields across our country where extreme violence is the way that the police deal with our communities. And we have to continue to push back against this. We got to make sure there's a Department of Justice that actually is going to hold these police departments accountable when these types of acts happen. And as Ben said, we need to stop just moving police officers, bad police officers, around to different police departments when they get in trouble or they get let go by one of them. And that's the only way this dynamic is ever going to change. We got to make sure no longer having folks who should not be officers being officers. And two, we got to stop dehumanizing and allowing these areas, these black and brown communities, to be killing fields.
This is why, Julian, when we talk about how do you impact systemic change? Actually, I'll go to Avis. This is why, Avis, we cannot pull back. This is why it has to be constant, sustained pressure and advocacy, because this system has shown itself that it'll tolerate a few protests. It'll tolerate a few months of upheaval. But the intensity of the protests in the aftermath of the George Floyd death should be the same or greater in December as it was in May.
Yeah, it's just disturbing to see this continuation. And I would argue that, to me, the focus needs to be on demilitarizing the police, because what you are seeing right here is a culture that sees the people that they are sworn to protect and defend as actually the enemy. They are treating Black people as if we are an enemy, and their whole job is to run up on us and kill us. Like it's a killing field, like it is a wartime situation. So to me, that is a focus not just on the armament that police departments have, but also on the mentality that is rampant through their culture. I'd also say that this specifically, to me, once again, shows how important these Georgia elections are. We just cannot reiterate that enough in terms of taking control of the Senate, because we saw that there was, in fact, a Justice and Policing Act that had passed the House that Mitch McConnell recently killed. That within that law, one of the many things that it had included was specifically a provision to create an accounting, a role, a database of police officers who had engaged in violent activities in one jurisdiction, so that would preclude them from going to another jurisdiction and getting rehired. Exactly the situation that happened here. And the reason why that is not law is because we had a Republican controlling the Senate and a Republican in the White House. Listen, having a Biden-Harris administration with a Democratic House but still a Republican Senate is not going to be enough to create the type of massive change that we need in terms of legislation that would prevent things like this from happening in the future.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends, go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.